no one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Today we're gonna conquer your EV phobia in the all-electric Toyota BZ.
I can do this. I'm doing it!
One drive can change your mind in the all-electric BZ. Toyota, let's go places.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
Experience a membership that backs your business journey with American Express Business Platinum. When you pay with membership rewards points for all or part of an eligible flight booked with a qualifying airline through Amex Travel, you can get 35% of those points back, up to 1 million points back per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to episode number 760 of the Duke Basketball Roundup. We are coming to you on Sunday, October 19th, 2025. We're going to have some football on this episode. We obviously get to preview some basketball on this episode. But first, I'm Donald Wine. I'm your host for this episode. I am still in Michigan. Jason Evans is with me. Jason, I had a lovely time so far this weekend. I had my high school reunion, got to see some classmates, got to watch a little football. And now, Jason, we start to turn our attention almost fully to the basketball side of things.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about the football game. It's super exciting to be on the cusp of getting to see Duke play against someone other than themselves in practice. Mm-hmm. and we'll be talking about the game against the Brotherhood run against Johnny Dawkins and Central Florida.
Yeah, I always say this is the time of year where we start to dribble the ball in anger towards another team. But in the case of the Brotherhood run, there will be no anger, only celebration when Johnny Dawkins and UCF comes down. We'll talk about that after the break. Jason, before we get into the football game, I did want to note that we, a couple weeks ago, got an email from a listener, Landon Harris, who told us a story about how he met the People's Champ, Nolan Smith, at a restaurant a couple weeks back, but also mentioned, and we had to wait on this because we had to make sure that it actually happened and went smoothly. He just got engaged to his now fiance Madison, so we wanted to send him a special shout out. Congratulations to you both. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you guys have many, many years of marital bliss alongside great success from Duke basketball.
Yeah, he told us, first of all, that Landon told us that his experience with Nolan Smith was great, that Nolan was very gracious and chatted with them a little bit at the restaurant. Nolan is the People's Champ for a reason, and we love hearing those kind of stories. And then the other thing is, Landon told us that he's in the process of converting his now fiance Madison into a Duke fan and into a fan of this podcast of the DBR. And we are here always for anyone who wants to bring another person into the Duke fold, and especially into the Duke Basketball Roundup family of fans. So welcome, Madison.
The brand is strong. The bandwagon is even stronger, and it is plenty of room for everyone. Jason, Jason, let's get to football because we do want to note the football game and discuss what happened yesterday. Duke, of course, taking on Georgia Tech in what was a big matchup with some implications in the ACC standings. And unfortunately, Duke takes the loss, 27-18. The final, they drop to 4-3 on the season, 3-1 in the ACC. And Jason, I will freely admit I didn't get the chance to watch this game in full. I was following mostly on my phone because of homecoming activities. So I'll toss it to you. But what I again saw from some of the limited coverage that I had was that it felt like Mensa was great. It felt like the receivers were great. It felt like the running game once again was not there, and that is something that we saw last year that contributed to a couple losses. And this time around, it kind of exacerbated itself into some other mistakes as well.
I mean, the story of the game is unquestionably that Duke, we talked in the preview, Duke can't commit turnovers. We can't have errors. Yet when Duke plays clean, they win. And I often win big. When Duke does not play clean, it's a problem. And it was a huge, unbelievable problem against Georgia Tech. Duke had, in the first half, Duke had 3 trips to the red zone, Donald. And Duke was -4 in points on those 3 trips to the red zone. We had the fumble that got returned 95 yards for a touchdown. That's -7 points. Mm-hmm. We kicked 1 field goal, and we had a field goal that we never even got the kickoff because the snap got bungled. It is not easy. As efficient and as good as Darian Mensah is, as good as the Duke offense is, it is not easy to get down into the shadow of the goalposts. And Duke did it 3 times and came away with functionally -4 points. Donald, I read a stat. I don't remember where it was. It was a few years ago, and I don't remember the exact number, but it was if you give up a defensive touchdown, a pick 6 or a scoop and 6, which is Duke gave up a scoop and 6. The team that gives it up loses something like 75 or 80% of the game of games when that happens. And you saw that happen to Duke in this game. The score at halftime, the score was 7-7 or 7-3 or 10. I forget what it was. I don't even remember. Whatever the score was, Duke should have been up by at least 10 points, if not more than that. The Duke defense was incredible, held down Georgia Tech and a very difficult to contain running game from Georgia Tech. They held them down for the first 3 quarters. Like Tech got nothing, just nothing. And then they finally gave up some stuff at the end. I think they got a little bit worn out, but I thought the Duke defense played at a championship level for the most part in this game. And it was just mistake after mistake. Special teams mistakes by the offense that just it's such a pity because there were so many great moments for Duke in this game. Darian Mensah had a scramble and pass to Cooper Barkate in the first half on like a 3rd down that was like one of the great like he was scrambling forever and then he just lofted the ball like 30 yards downfield. It was one of these plays that you think, there's no way you're going to get a positive play out of this, and Darian Mensah turns it into something. There's so many people who say, Darian Mensah needs to run more. Duke needs to put him into the rushing attack more. I think Duke is doing a great thing. They're using Darian Mensah's mobility and his legs to move out of the pocket at times, to create time, to create different angles. When a quarterback moves out of the pocket, it creates different angles for the defense. And that's one of the things that Duke has done with Mensah so well. And we saw that again and again. There are all these highlights for Duke in this game, and then it all just goes away because of the mistakes. I mean, we had the catch by Taylor on third down where he bobbles it twice. By the way, that was like a theme across college football that Tulane won a game on a ball that was on the last play of the game where the ball was bobbled twice in the end zone and they still caught it. Mm-hmm. It happened across college football yesterday. It's just the game was so frustrating because you just knew Duke was every bit as good as Georgia Tech. Duke was probably better than Georgia Tech in this game, and we just made the mistakes. And it's there's nothing more to say than that. Duke's not going to be in the ACC championship game now. I'm pretty sure of that. I think it's just too high a hill to climb, and we have no one to blame but ourselves.
Well, I will say this, Duke was tied 7-7 at halftime. They were tied 10-10 at the end of the third quarter. And as you mentioned, the only touchdown that Georgia Tech got was a scoop and score from deep in our zone. So you think about that and you go, okay, Duke had a chance to win. Duke had a chance to be in it at the end. And even if you get all the way down to late in the fourth quarter, when they had a chance to, Georgia Tech had just scored. We drive all the way down the field and you go, okay, well, we'll get this field goal. And then we maybe have to hold our defense again, can hold, we get a chance to tie it or even go for 8 points at the end. And Polino misses the field goal. And then 41 seconds later, it's 27-10 and the game is essentially over. And so it is frustrating in that sense. I will say that 24 hours ago, Jason, you probably would say, oh yeah, Duke's probably out of the ACC title race, but so many teams lost that probably shouldn't have. Miami lost on Friday. And the fact that we still have a situation here where UVA is in the driver's seat for the ACC championship game, despite losing to an ACC team, but it didn't count in the standings.
So weird.
So it did count in the standings. So it doesn't. So they're still in the driver's seat. They still need help, right? And Duke, obviously, we get the week off. We get to play Clemson after that, and then we're go at Clemson, at UConn. Well, obviously, it's not ACC. UVA, that's going to be another huge game for us if we want to creep back into this conversation. At UNC, and then home against Wake to close out the regular season. This is still doable, but I will say that we do need some help. We need probably Georgia Tech and SMU to stumble at some point, and maybe even Miami again, to create a logjam where tiebreakers kind of make sense. But what this does that we can be for sure of is Duke no longer controls his own destiny in the ACC. And that's where it's frustrating because, as you mentioned, we had every bit of a chance to control that destiny, and mistakes cost us.
Yeah, it's just so, God, that's one of these games where you're just like, God, it's so close to being so different. Like the final score gives you no indication of what really happened in that game. Like there was a play, a third down screen pass that Georgia Tech threw in the fourth quarter that Chandler Rivers knocked down. Chandler Rivers is like 2-3 inches from just intercepting that ball and taking it to the house, as functionally turning the scoop and score that Georgia Tech had into a pick six for Duke, sort of evening that out. Totally different, like inches from a totally different game. And yeah, you're right. You can come up with scenarios where different teams lose games here and there and the such, and Duke finds its way back into the ACC championship game. I don't think it's too likely, but this is a very, very good Duke team, and I still think they are well on course to get like 7-8 wins for sure on this season, and they're probably going to be favorites. It'd be real interesting to see what that line is against Clemson and the UVA. Those are the two games that you look at. You're like, those are the two games that sort of will determine, is Duke really a top tier ACC team this year, or are they closer to the middle of the pack? And I think that they are a top tier ACC team.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, when's the last time we played well at Death Valley? It's been a long time, Jason. And so
this Clemson team is not good.
It's not good, but again, demons present themselves in no matter the score, right? And we've had some of if you think about the last couple of years, we had a lot of these, hey, it's the first time since type of conversations about Duke football when they went and beat somebody. This is going to have to be another one, the first time since somebody out there, dbrpodcast@gmail.com will tell us the first time in a long time that we go down to Death Valley and get a win. This is something that now is crucial. If you want to, again, continue to stay in the conversation and hope, again, that a couple people ahead of you stumble. Jason, let's take a quick break. On the other side, we are going to discuss the basketball. Our Brotherhood run coming up against UCF. We'll preview it after this.
The holidays sneak up fast, but it's not too early to get your shopping done and actually have fun with it. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful, with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts that you can't find anywhere else. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the United States. Many are crafted by independent artists and small businesses, and because they're made in small batches, the best finds can sell out fast. I know I've enjoyed the acupuncture mat that I got from Uncommon Goods and cannot wait to try out the acupressure recovery socks that are meant to bring me relief after travel or a long day on my feet. They're two things that I didn't think that I'd need that are going to become a big part of my daily life. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They have donated more than $3 million to date, which is pretty awesome. So shop early, have fun, and cross some names off your list today. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/DukeBB. That's uncommongoods.com/DukeBB for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We are back, and we turn our attention to the basketball court because for the first time since April, Jason, we have some basketball to talk about where we are playing another team. Yes, it's the preseason, but we don't care. We get overhyped for everything because we love Duke basketball that much. We face the UCF Knights. Are they Black Knights, Golden Knights? They're the regular Knights.
They're Black Knights.
Black Knights. They're the Black Knights. UCF Black Knights on Tuesday night in Cameron. That game on ACC Network Extra. What does that mean? Stream it. Is going to be streamed somewhere. So check your local listings for that. But Jason, let's turn to, because as we've discussed in previous episodes, we don't really have much on these teams because nobody's dribbled a basketball yet. But tell me what you know about UCF and, of course, welcoming back the legend, Johnny Dawkins.
Yeah, it's the Brotherhood run. What I know about UCF is there is nothing, zero, that you can look at from last year's roster to tell anything about this year's team. They return exactly 0 players from a year ago. It's pretty rare to see something like that in college basketball when there isn't a coaching change. Like when coaches change, that's when everybody leaves. That didn't happen here. And I don't think any of this is an indictment on Johnny Dawkins. It's just sort of the nature of the portal sometimes. But yeah, this UCF, he had to bring in a whole new roster for UCF this year. But it's a very interesting roster with a ton of experience. I mean, like every single guy who walks out there for them pretty much is going to have at least 2 or 3, if not 4 or more years of college basketball experience. And I want to talk about one guy in particular. They have a 6'6" forward named Devin Cambridge, who was at Texas Tech the past 2 years. He was injured a lot, so he got hardship redshirt, 2 of them. 2 of them. Before that, he played 3 years at Auburn. So do the math. 3. He did 1 year at Arizona State as well. He got a COVID year, one of his years at Auburn. So 3 years at Auburn, 1 year at Arizona State, 2 years at Texas Tech. Dude is in his 7th season of college basketball. On his way out of the stadium, he'll be picking up his Social Security check. Devin Cambridge, this is just unbelievable that this guy is still in the college basketball game. Had Duke and Auburn, that's where he was originally, had they played back in 2019, when Devin Cambridge was at Auburn, he would have lined up against Vernon Carey, Jack White, Javin DeLaurier, guys like that. That is how old Devin Cambridge is. He's one of the team captains for Central Florida. The NCAA just granting this guy endless eligibility, 7 years. Oh my God. He will probably be lining up against like Nick Hemenia or Cameron Boozer or someone like that who's, 6-7 years younger than him. It's crazy. They've got a guy who's in his 5th year, Themis Fulks, who's a 6'1" point guard. He's there. They have 3 captains. Devin Cambridge is a captain. Themis Fulks is a captain. Themis Fulks, by the way, played last year at Milwaukee. Averaged like 15 points per game at Milwaukee. He's a terrible he's a point guard, terrible outside shooter. Like dude hits like 25% from 3. So fluff off him a little bit, but he can get in the lane. He's quick. And then the other captain is a guy named Jamichael Stillwell. He's a 6'8" forward. He also played at Milwaukee last year. So he and Themis Fulks are going to know each other really well. They have a season playing together. He was like a walking double-double last year at 13-10 from Milwaukee. Now, Milwaukee's not a great program. They're in the Horizon League, but they won 20 games. They're one of the better teams in the Horizon, and basically Johnny Dawkins brought in arguably their 2 best players from last year to play for UCF this year. Another guy to look out for that I think this is kind of an interesting one to note is they have a 7'2" center. I don't think he's going to start at center for them, but a 7'2" center named John Bowl, who was a McDonald's All-American. This guy was like a top 40 kind of recruit, and he made the McDonald's All-American game 2 years ago. And last year he played for Ole Miss. He only played in 17 games, like 4 minutes per game. He's still very much developing, but dude is 7'2", and this UCF team has a pretty decent amount of size. Duke usually when Duke is facing off against other teams, we've got a major size advantage. We'll have an advantage, probably at point guard against Thomas Fulks, who's only 6'1". But for the most part, Duke does not have a positional size advantage other than that one spot on the floor. The other thing about UCF that I'll say is all the advanced metric folks have them rated like between 60 and 80 or so. Ken Pomeroy has them at 64. Bart Torek has them at 82. Evan Maya has them at 79. This is an okay opponent. I would bet there's no line. Vegas doesn't do exhibition lines. If there was a line, I bet it would be like Duke by about 15 or so. But this is not going to be an exhibition where Duke just walks over the opposition. At least I don't think it will be. And of course, the interesting thing, we haven't discussed it yet, John, I'll let you get into this. What do we expect to see from Duke? This Duke team is still very much a mystery. I think there may be 3 positions on the floor where I'm pretty confident who the starters are. But other than that, I got no idea.
Well, point of correction before we get to that. Point of correction, they are the UCF Knights. We will play the Black Knights, Jason, but we will have to travel.
That's my bad.
We'll have to travel to West Point to do it on Veterans Day. So that is the reason for us. We will play lots of Knights, both time of day and mascots this season. But Jason, I think shifting over to what we expect from Duke is interesting, right? Because one, this is a Big 12 opponent. The UCF is not some, like you mentioned, Milwaukee in the Horizon League. This is not some team that's a mid-major. This is a Power 4 opponent that we're going to get. So we're going to get some tests here, and we're going to have a team that, as you mentioned, is experienced, and they're going to be tough because they're also preparing for life in the Big 12, which is going to be a monster of a conference once again this season. I think when you're looking at Duke, the first thing that I'm looking for is the starters. Who, like as you mentioned, who are these starters going to be? We may have an idea, and like you said, we may think there's 3 or 4 of them that are pegged to start, but who knows who comes out to start the game on Tuesday night? I think is going to be interesting to see how that works, and then also the rotations. You and I talk about the fact that we see early on how these rotations may work. where guys may come in who replaces who, how those, how the five kind of blossom together and that connectivity between all these players. I think it's not going to be polished, but we will get our first look at how that maybe will work when the ball is rolled out when we go to Charlotte to face Texas to open up the regular season. And I think the other thing is also just between this game and then this weekend or this coming weekend, we will be at Tennessee. We're going to have a couple of opportunities here real quick to see how this team is coming together and what they may need to work on before it all counts. And I think this is you're going to see maybe some not necessarily trick plays or anything, but you're going to see some things kind of rolled out here to say, how does it work? Because that's what the preseason's about. And I think the last thing that I will mention is the Brotherhood run is always cool because we started it last year with Arizona State. We got to welcome home Bobby Hurley. I think for the first time since he was a player, he had never coached at Cameron, and that makes sense because we tend to not play these guys during the regular season. But I think for Johnny Dawkins, it's a little bit more special in a way because, Johnny Dawkins is revered by almost everybody for what he did at Duke as a player, as a coach. He has been, he was a coach for a long time at Duke before he left for Stanford and then now UCF. I'm looking to see, first of all, the fact that he gets to get his flowers. That's a great thing. And that's really the reason for this Brotherhood run. But again, I think also I want to see Duke with that killer instinct. I want to see them come out and say, this is a team that we should beat, so let's go beat them. And again, it's not going to be polished. Jason, you and I are going to talk about a lot of good and maybe a lot of bad when it comes to the recap of this game. But I want to see a team that when you look at the final score, you go, hey, they may have gotten some things wrong. They may have not been polished, but it looks like we have a team that can be dominant for large stretches of a game. And when they see a chance to take out their opponent, they're going to do it.
Look, the thing from Duke that I'm looking forward to the most, the thing that I think is probably the key question, Duke has four guys who can play on the wing, and Isaiah Evans, Nick Hemenia, Darren Harris, and Dame Sarr. And I think all of us are wondering which two of those four start. Who's the first guy off the bench? Is Dame Sarr he's going to be a defensive terror? Is he also able to bring things on offense that are effective? Is Darren Harris, who's a flame? Darren Harris and Isaiah Evans, both flamethrowers from three. Are either of those guys able to show something more than being a flamethrower? And by the way, they could just be a flamethrower. That works.
Yeah, if it's within the flow, right? That's cool.
Yeah. But are they able to bring something on defense? Are they able to bring something in terms of creation? And then Nick Hemenia, who feels a little bit like a Swiss Army knife, can do a little bit of everything. Those are the four guys to me that I'm going to be watching the most carefully because they are the four biggest question marks. And then the other thing is, I really want to see what Caleb Foster can do in terms of creation and, not being a ball stopper. There are people from a statistical standpoint. Caleb Foster's exhibition blue-white game was really strong. He put up stats all over the place. I think people still saw some looseness with the ball and a little bit more dribbling than maybe you want, dribbling without as much purpose. And I think people really want to see, a little something more from him. And then I think the big men, I think we have a pretty good sense that Cameron Boozer and Patrick Gongba are going to be the strength of this team. Is Bart Torvik can be right that Patrick Gongba is one of the best, 30 or so players in college basketball.
So Evan Mia, right? Evan Mia has a rank third.
I said Bart. I meant Evan Miyakawa. Yeah. I think there's just so many questions about this. We know there's a incredible amount of talent on this team, and there's just so many questions to be answered. By the way, we're going to get our first look at Malik Brown in all likelihood, as he supposedly is fully recovered from the injuries, the stuff he's been battling in the offseason. Man, it's just there's a lot there, and I'm eager for it all to happen.
You mentioned the big men, and I think it brought up another point that I was going to mention in that, in the blue-white scrimmage, it's easy to kind of see how these guys can play with the ball because there is one basketball, but Duke scores on every play, right? Duke has the ball in every possession. Now there really is one basketball, and Duke has to play defense. So there's going to be half the times where they do not have the ball. But on offense, I want to see what it really will look like to have an offense featured around Cam Boozer. It's not going to be the same as it was regarding Cooper Flagg last year. And obviously we have a different team, different teammates. Some of the guys may be the same from year to year, but I want to see how this offense rotates through Cam Boozer and how, again, how he may be able to not only get his points, but also be able to feed his teammates and get everybody involved. I also, Jason, echo what you're saying about Malik Brown, the fact that we haven't seen him really all summer because of the various injuries that he's recovering from. Now, if he's able to get some run in here, I think that's a great for him because we'd love to see him back on the court. We think his energy is infectious, especially in the defensive end. But I also want to see again how he integrates with the rest of the crew and what kind of rotations they have when he's in the game versus when Pat Gongba's in the game versus if Cam Boozer's going to be playing more out in the wing and going inside, or if he's going to have to feature inside the post when one of those guys is out of the game. I think is a very interesting question, but I think the excitement is knowing that they're not going to get it all right, but we're going to see some flashes of, oh, this is what a Duke team is going to look like during this regular season. And I think that's the most exciting part about this.
Hey, before we go, one quick thing I wanted to mention. There are some ACC teams that have played some interesting exhibitions lately, and I just want to note them because we care about the ACC. Florida State played Alabama in an exhibition. We know Alabama's a really good team. Duke played them in the Elite Eight a year ago. They are in, most preseason top 15, top 20. And Florida State is supposed to be one of the worst teams in the ACC this year. Florida State played neck and neck with Alabama the whole way. They ended up losing the game 109 to 105. By the way, no defense. Zero defense.
Defense has never presented itself in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By the way, it was at Alabama. But yeah, so for Florida State, that's a really nice result for them to be, that competitive with a pretty good Alabama team. And it shows you that this Florida State team is going to at least have something interesting they can present on offense. Virginia went to Vanderbilt and played a sort of a strange exhibition game. They played it like an NBA game. Like they played 4 12-minute quarters and they reset the score at halftime. Like there was one half and then second. Vandy ended up winning both halves of basketball, not like in a big way. And both Virginia and Vanderbilt were playing. They played deep into their bench and the such. But a lot of people, are pretty high on Virginia. I thought that was maybe a little bit of a concerning kind of result for the Cavs. And then Notre Dame played Butler. A Big East team, a power conference team in basketball. Notre Dame beat Butler 77-76. Marcus Burton, a first-team All-ACC player, had 22 points in that contest. I'm kind of high on Notre Dame this year. I think a lot of folks who have them, I think Notre Dame could contend top 6, maybe even top 5 in the conference. I won't be entirely shocked if that happens. And so they get a nice win over Butler in their exhibition. All these exhibitions, take everything with a grain of salt. But on the other hand, a year ago, Duke beat Arizona State by like 40 points in an exhibition. So, and that presaged how good that Cooper Flagg Duke team was. And then, Donald, last thing I wanted to mention really quick. You brought up the name Bobby Hurley. Talking about Arizona State. I do want folks to be on the lookout for something all across college basketball this season. The season's about to start in just a week or two. And so I'm going to have all of you on the lookout for this year. One of the most hallowed and longest lasting records in college basketball history is Bobby Hurley's assist record, his career assist record. 32, it happened 32 years ago that Bobby Hurley compiled 1,076 assists. Purdue's Braden Smith has a very, very realistic chance of beating Bobby Hurley's all-time assist record this year. Braden Smith enters this season with 758 career assists. Last year, he had 313. If he gets 313 this year, he would end at 1,071. Again, Bobby Hurley's record's 1,076. So if Braden Smith is like around 8.5 or so assists per game, then it's going to be really, really close. If he can get to like 9 assists per game, I think Braden Smith's probably going to get there. Last year, he averaged 8.7. If he's at like 8.5, I think he comes up short. If he gets to 9, I think Braden Smith probably beats Bobby Hurley's all-time assist record. That's a big number, but Braden Smith's a preseason player of the year. and Purdue's offense, the ball is in Braden Smith's hand, the entire game until he chooses to pass it, and he usually passes it to someone for a bucket. So just be on the lookout for that. Check out Braden Smith. If he's up around 9 assists per game, then Bobby Hurley's assist record could be in danger.
And it's interesting. That might be one of the most intriguing storylines of the entire season because, as you mentioned it, he is going to be, in all likelihood, the preseason National Player of the Year. And with that comes some sort of responsibility and some sort of expectations. And usually those expectations are in the scoring column and not in the assist column. And so I wonder if this year he's going to be called upon to score a little bit more, which would then reduce the number of chances he has to pass the ball to his teammates. But it's a very intriguing thing. And as you mentioned, the difference between it being just over 8 assists a game may fall short. 8.9 assists a game, he may come right at it, and 9 assists a game, he might break it. That is a very intriguing storyline, and it could depend, honestly, on how well Purdue does, where he gets a chance to kind of throw the ball around, as opposed to crunch time if they're down late, where they may call on him to go to the hole or shoot the three and score. That is going to be a very, very intriguing storyline throughout the season.
Well, the thing that it depends on for Purdue is, how deep do they go in the Big Ten tournament? How deep do they go in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, he needs the max number of games. Yeah,
that extra game or two could be all the difference. But yeah, just keep an eye on Braden Smith's assists per games, and we'll check in on this over the course of the season because this is such a significant record that Bobby Hurley has held for a long, long time, and he held it, by the way, through all the COVID years.
Right.
All these guys who got an extra season for COVID, and Braden Smith does not. He's not doing this in 5 years. Any record that was beaten by someone who got a 5th year, huge asterisks on that. But this would be a legit, record break by Braden Smith. We should be on the lookout for it.
I wish no ill will on Braden Smith, but I hope he does not break the record. I hope Bobby Hurley can keep it for at least one more year. As they say, records are made to be broken, so we will watch with great anticipation throughout the season. Jason, that will do it for this episode of the Duke Basketball Roundup. We will likely be back at some point after the UCF game to recap everything. We'll get back into our normal routine of recapping games with the good, the stuff to improve, and our players of the game, and then later on maybe player of the week as we get towards the Tennessee game. But until then, he is Jason, I am Donald. This is the Duke Band. They're playing us out and taking us home.